Welcome to Everywaywoman. So let's get right to business. We're talking women in the workforce and why they hesitate to ask for what they're worth or more money. Why is that, Madison?
Well, I think it depends on the woman and what she does outside of her job. So if she works and she's also a mom and she also does all of these other things, sometimes that woman just does. And she doesn't think about...
She doesn't place the value on what she's doing? I'm confused. I think, is there a fear of rejection?
No, it's not about fear. It's just about, that's the woman's mindset. I do this and this and this. They don't think about what's my value when I'm a mom. What's my value when I participate in my church? What's my value when I do this?
So in a sense, maybe they're trusting someone else to understand their value. I know I've done that in the workforce, but I assume that my boss knows.
But when you're talking about money, and I understand what you're saying, but when you're talking about asking for money, in HR, I work in HR, traditionally there's a pay equity between men and women. But what happens is we're taught from young girls to just kind of be docile and kind of accept, and that's where you're going, accept what we get. So it's very difficult to say, hey, you know what? My counterpart who's a male, he's making $5,000 more than me. I want $5,000 because it's embedded in our mind subconsciously that no, you should just be happy with what we give you.
So in this situation, you deal with people maybe who are asking for raises or adjusting their salaries. Do women approach that differently than men?
Well, they're viewed as aggressive. I mean, they're literally viewed as aggressive. In a workplace, if a woman stands up for what she is, they lean in. The whole Sheryl Sandberg concept. She's aggressive. She should kind of know her place. The undertone is she should be happy that we are letting her sit in the boardroom. And so we subscribe to that. So my guy Joe makes $50,000 and I make $40,000, and I'm just like, I'm good with that because I'm so happy I'm here. We got to change the mindset.
Sure.
Yeah, but there's also, right now, I think we're in a crisis, in a way of identity crisis. I think we're in an identity crisis as terms of what women's roles are, what men's roles are, and who provides for what.
But in the workplace, though, again, I want to encourage women. All those things are roles we play, but you have a worth, you have a value, and there is an importance, and you will not get the raise unless you ask. The days of waiting for your boss to come are not there.
So when do you know it's a right time to ask, and how do you approach that situation?
Well, one, you have to have some deliverables, right?
What do you mean deliverables?
You need to be productive. If Joe is making $50,000 and he's working at a $50,000 level, you can't just say, well, because I'm a woman, there's inequity, I should get $50,000, and you only produce $20,000 worth of work.
Right.
Well, and maybe that's what you were saying, and having these other roles and what you're already bringing to the job. But if you are bringing something that is equal, how do you have that conversation? I personally, I'm terrified of that. I think it's fear of rejection. I'm afraid to say, you know what? I know Joe Schmo is making $50,000. I'm making $45,000. I'm not okay with that.
Men are not fearful of that. You're exactly right. Men are not going to be fearful.
So why are women?
Yes, and I agree with you in the sense that because nowadays moms, working housewives, all of these people, we play so many different roles, and that so. When it comes to this role in the job, in the workforce, then all of a sudden it's like, well, do I have the time and energy? Because I think it's very challenging for anyone. I don't believe in the superwoman thing. I don't believe a woman can be everything and be good at it. So if she is a mom and she does volunteer at the church and she does have a job and she does do this and she does do that, well, is she really giving everything she has to the job where Joe, who goes in, is just Joe?
But to that point, women in the workplace, I still want to submit to you, we have a place, we have a value. The workforce is made of more than 50% of the women. So we have to take our rightful place. We have to sit at the tables. We have to be value added. And here's the other thing. If we want to stomp with the big dogs, we got to look like the big dogs. So
how do you do that?
Well, what that means is, and I hate to say this because I'm a career woman, I may not be able to right now go to my son's play. Not saying that is right. I'm not saying that it's right. But I may have to make that sacrifice for where I need to go. Because what men are saying at the boardroom is, see, you want to be a big pup, but then you still want to have the emotional part of whining and crying when you don't get your way.
I was talking to a man, he was looking for a partner. He was branching out and he wanted to bring another person in. And he said, I don't want to hire a woman. I'm getting all these resumes, but the best resumes I'm getting are women, but I don't want to hire a woman. And I don't want to hire a woman who's in her 20s or her 30s or her early mid 40s nowadays, because I don't know when she's going to decide that she's going to have a baby and start a family.
But
she's
Stacey,
going to go out
isn't that illegal?
It is illegal, but I don't disagree with him, actually, because I do. I know.
Okay, I'm about
No, to your point, Madison, I hear where you're going because I do this on a daily basis. I understand the mindset, but what we have to do as women is we have to show an equal camaraderie. To your point, I work with women on a daily basis who say, well, you should just make an accommodation for me because I want to go and I want to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, maybe we should. Like, we had a conversation not too long ago that the job should have daycare. I don't think that an employer should have to have daycare. So what's happening is because we're not a daycare, we're an employer.
Right.
So when you start making those demands as women, because of the mental thought processes, they're thinking, as this gentleman, I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'm gonna have to deal with daycare. I'm gonna have to deal with leaves, and I don't want to do. I'm just gonna bring a man in, and he's not gonna do
What
it.
he didn't want to do was invest.
Right.
He did not want to invest in a woman because he didn't know what that was going to look like when she decided, if she decided, maybe she was going to have children.
And sometimes, and we don't make men invest, right? So to this man's position, his strongest resumes were women, right?
Just so you know, he hired a woman.
Yes. Okay. and you know what? He should have a candid conversation. And then you know what that woman needs to do? She needs to go in and produce at the highest level. So when you show up,
do that?
hold up. Yes, I do. So when you show up, he's like, man, women are okay. But, you know, sometimes that doesn't happen.
Okay, so very personal question then. Do you think that you are paid what you're worth in your jobs? Regardless of everywaywoman, we're talking in the career force, whether you're in or out of it. Do you think you get what you're worth?
Right now, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I do well. I do well for what I do. But there's some things that I have to do more. I have to be more strategic, and I got to sit in the boardroom. I have to sit at the table.
All right,
Absolutely.
ladies, sit at the table. We'll be right back with more Everywaywoman. Stay tuned.